श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयम् करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादम् शङ्करम् लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करम् शङ्कराचार्यम् केशवम् बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः विषेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ नमः ब्रह्मविद्यासम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यः। नमो नमः श्री गौडपाद श्री शंकर भगवत्पाद सुरेश्वराचार्येभ्यः। प्रज्ञानां शुप्रतानैः स्थिरचरनिगरव्यापिभिर्व्याप्य लोकान् भुक्त्वा भोगान् स्तविष्टान् पुनरपि दिशनोद्भासितान् कामजन्यान् पीत्वा सर्वान् विशेषान् स्वपितिमधुरभुङ् मायया भोजयन्नः मायासङ्ख्यातुरीयं परम् अमृतमजं ब्रह्म यत्तन्नतोऽस्मि। मायया भिद्यते ह्येतत् नान्यथाजं कथञ्चन तत्त्वतो भिद्यमाने हि मर्त्यताम् अमृतं व्रजेत्। We were seeing the Trishti Ajativada. Does Bhagavan really do a Srishti? Is there a Srishta Jagat? It was said, Advaitam Paramarthaha Dvaitam Tadbhedaha Uchyate Tesham Ubhayata Dvaitam Tena Ayamna Virudhyate. With the people for whom both Paramarthika and Vyavaharika both are dual. For them, both Paramarthika and Vyavaharika are Satyam. In the sense they are both Dvaitam only. There is no separate Paramarthika Drishti and Vyavaharika Drishti for them. That includes almost all of the other Siddhantis, from Vaiseshika Naiyayika all the way till the Dvaitins, Madhva Sampradaya Dvaitin. For all of them, there is no Paramarthika Advaya Vastu. Hence, Ubhayata Dvaitam. But for us, the Vedantis, Paramarthataha, there is Advayam Brahma, and the Bheda Bhashikara said it's a Karya. So, Tasya Karyam Ityartaha, he had said. Okay, the Advaitam is Dvaitasya Karyam. So, it is only a effect of Advaya Brahma. That being the case, we don't have any conflict with Dvaitins because at some level we accept the Pratiti, the subject-object Pratiti, the appearance of subject-object duality is accepted in the realm of Vyavaharika by us, whereas for them that itself is Paramartha. So they have a problem with us because they don't accept Paramarthika Satyam as Advayam Brahma. Whereas we don't have a problem with them because we do accept Dvaita Pratiti in Vyavaharika Drishti. We saw that. And then Acharya, Gaudapada Acharya said, Mayaya Vidyate na Anyata. So here he uses the word Maya. So how does this Advaya Brahma become Dvaita Jagat? Does it really undergo change? Was the question. So for that, the answer was Mayaya eva vidyate. Taimirike aneka chandravat. Just like how through the cataract you see multiple objects, multiple instances of the same object, double action. So the cataract is the problem. The seer doesn't have any any defect, but it is the instrument by which the world is experienced that creates an impression of Aneka Chandra. Similarly here, Maya is the one which is creating this Dvaita Bhava. So there is no change. Swarupa Aparityagena, it becomes the Karana. That is why we call it as Vivarta Karanam. Just by its presence, it illuminates Maya, through which you see the duality. Hence, the whole, including the individual Jivatmatvam, is due to Maya only. It is not already there is a Jiva and then Jiva has a Maya. That is how people who don't understand Vedanta, Advaya Vedanta, just to qualify, because Dvaiti and Visishta Advaitis also call themselves as Vedantins. So people don't understand our Siddhanta. They think Jiva, the Jivatma, is through Maya seeing the Jagat. In a sense, it is fine. But then the fact is that even the Jivatmatvam itself is in Maya. Okay. Therefore, from a Brahma Vastu standpoint, there is no Jivatma or Paramatma or anything like that. There is only one Satta. The word Paramatma can be used only if there is a non-Paramatma. If there is only one thing, so you don't need that word. Parama is not necessary. Even Atma also is not necessary because there is no non-Atma. When the Idam is also Aham only, all that is there is only one Satta. Therefore, all these things are within Maya. It's not that Jivatma is seeing an illusion called the world. That is not how, that is not the Siddhanta here. So that is where the confusion is. The word Maya is not properly understood. That Maya eva vidyate. It is only as though. Maya means what? There is actually no Bheda. It is only an apparent Bheda, the apparent subject-object duality. That Bheda is Maya eva. If you have to give a cause for it, you have to say Maya. Because it is Ajam. So Maya vidyate hi etate Nanyata Ajam Katanchana. Ajam Brahma. That Ajam is a word used by Shruti at many places. Ajo Nitya Shashvadoyam Puranaha. Even in Smriti, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, Ajo Pisan, Avyayatma, Bhutanam Ishwaro Pisan. Like that, many places in Bhagavad Gita, Ajaha is used. And Shruti also uses Aja. Sabhahyabhyantaro hi ajaha is a Shruti Vakya. So the Aja Pada is used. So here also Gaudapada Acharya says, Ajam Mayaya eva vidyate. That which is never born, that which cannot, that which does not become something else. It doesn't give up its Swarupa, which is Aja, which is Chinmatra. Okay. So it is Niravayava. So we saw that only that which has Avayava, we can say, can be born. Savayavam hi Avayava Anyathatvena Vidyate. Only that which has, see, suppose I need to say, this small elephant has grown into a bigger elephant. So what has changed? The dimensionality has changed. So the height of the elephant has changed, breadth of the elephant. So Abhayava, that is also a guna. And the parts also, what has become larger? The legs of the elephant has become larger. The trunk of the elephant has become larger. The ears of the elephant. So all these are Avayava. Anything which you objectify means, how do you objectify? Only by seeing certain attributes. So the whole subject-object duality exists because what is being objectified has certain attributes. Then only you can say I am objectifying something. It needs to have some kind of an attribute. Then only you will say it exists. Even space has a dimensionality and sound attribute. And anything other than that anyway will have more attributes. Being you can see it, it has a color, it has a shape. Therefore, that only you can say is born or dead. The Bheda, Dvaita Bhava, is possible only for Savayava Vastu. For Chinmatra Swarupa, where is Avayavatvam? The consciousness, does it have any parts? Does the consciousness have any Avayava? Does it have even a guna? What is the guna? It's only Swarupa. Being the consciousness is its Swarupa. There is no other guna. Consciousness doesn't have any additional attribute, nor it has any Avayava, nor can you limit it. It is Vibhu. Because you can't say consciousness is 3 centimeters radius. We can't say that. Therefore, Savayavam hi Avayavan Anyatatvena Vidyate. Here, it is Ajam. Tattvato Vidyamane hi Martyadam Amritam Vrajet. Suppose it, so this is what is called actually Tikakara addresses this Tattvato Vidyamane. Just talk, let me just see. Because this Vivartavada, the Vivartavada, Parinamivada, there are two vadas we have seen many times. So does it have a Vivartatvam or Parinamitvam? That is the question. So here Tikakara says, Niravayavatve api vastunaha sputana dharmatvam ashankya aha savayavam. Okay. And before that, Vimato bhedaha mithya bhedatvat chandradi bhedavat ityartaha vimatam tattvataha bhedarahitam niravayatvat nityatvat ajatvacha vetirekena mridadivat ityaha. So he uses mridadivat vyatireka drishtanta is what he says. Okay, anyway, so I saw somewhere this the whole contention is about the Vivartavada. Okay. In fact, at the beginning of the Tika, of this verse Tika, he says, Advaitameva Dvaitatmana Parinamate Ched, Dvaitamapi Tatvikam Syaditi Ashankyaha Mayaya iti. And then he says, Vivartavadan Angikare Doshamaha Tatvataha. Vivartavada Anangikare. Okay. Vivartavada, if you don't accept the Vivartavada, that's why this Tatvataha Vidyamane. Suppose you accept that Tattvataha eva there is a Veda. In reality, there is a Veda. If you were to accept it, then what? Then you are Vivarta. You are not accepting Vivarta. You are accepting that there is a Parinama. There is a real Veda. If there is a real Veda, then Martyadam Amritam Vrajet. Shruti says Atma is Amritam. Swarupa is Amrita Swarupa. If Atma is Amrita, then still if it undergoes a change, then what? That means the Amritatvam is gone. Because it will become Mritam. Anything which is born will obviously die. So if there is a Parinama of clay into a pot, the clay may remain, but pot is going to die at some point, because there is a Veda in terms of the shape. So Tattvataha, there is a Veda in the case of clay pot. Yeah, even though it is clay, but from a shape perspective, clay is different from a pot. Pot has a different shape. So there is a Tattvataha Veda. That is why we shouldn't think that Brahmavastu is only a Upadana Karanam. We should not take Brahman as a pure material cause, and then it has formed a shape of this Jagat. If you take it that way, it will be like clay and pot. The pot does get destroyed as a pot. So here, it is not a Parinama. It is only Vivarta. So there is a Swarupa Aparitya again. Without giving up its nature, the Brahman has become this Jagat. So and that has become itself is a very notional term, because it hasn't really become anything. It is Brahman only. It was, it is, it will be. There is no time. Everything is Brahman. That's what was seen. Then, next verse. Ajatasyaiva bhavasya jatimichanti vadinaha ajato hyamruto bhavaha martyatam katameshyati. Martyatam katam ishyati. Martyada means the being one which is that which is afflicted by the characteristic of birth and death. Okay. Swapaksham uktva swayutyapaksham anubhashya dushayati ajatasya eva bhavasya jatim ichanti vadinaha. Vadinaha, certain people who try to give meaning to Veda Vakyas, Shruti Vakya. Some people who argue. What do they argue? Jatim. They argue about Jati. Like these days, there is a lot of this Jati going on, no? So, but that Jati is different. Here, Jati means Srishti. Srishtim Ichanti Vadinaha. They say their attachment is that this Brahma, which was purely Sadvastu, is born as this Jagat. Because Sadeva Saumya Idamagrasit Ekameva Advitiyam. Therefore, it is said it was non-dual Ekameva Advitiyam before this Jagat was born. Now this Jagat is there. That is what Chandogya says. So some people argue that it is only the birth. It has become a dual Jagat. The subject-object duality is real. Srishti means what? Becoming manifold. It was one before the Srishti and it has become many now. That's what is Srishti. If that is the Srishti, then you are saying The Brahman has undergone a change. So he again emphasizes Ajataha Amritaha Bhavaha Martyatam Katham Ishyati. If the Shruti is saying it is Ajaha, it is Amritaha, then how can it be born and dead? That means you are saying it gives up its very Swarupa. The Swarupa will not be given up by anything. If something can be given up, then that is not its Swarupa. A fire we saw cannot give up what heat. It can be a latent heat. Okay, so it can give up, being bright. It can, because if suppose a pan is hot, so that fire, the heat is not having the quality of light there, correct? But the Ushnatvam has to only, so therefore Ushnatvam only is the nature of fire, the heat. It cannot give that up. So anything which is its Swarupa, it cannot, there is no way it can give up its Swarupa. Similarly here, its very Swabhava is Ajataha, Amritaha. That is what Shruti also says. Therefore, Bhashyakara, Yetu Punaha Kechid Upanishad Vyakhyataraha Brahmavadinaha. This Vadinaha, Bhashyakara is taking as Brahmavadinaha, Upanishad Vyakhyataraha. He is not saying these are people who are non-Vedikas, non-Vedantis. These are all also Vedantis. They are doing Vyakhya for Upanishads. They are Brahmavadi. But for them, Brahma is the modified Brahman. Initially, it was non-dual. Now it is Visheshena Visishtam Brahma. It has many Visheshas, Nanatvam. So it has become this dual Jagat. Even though everything here is same Brahma, but it is in the form of duality. It has itself changed. Okay. Vavadukaha. Vavaduka means the one who is, boastful or talking all the time. Vad means keep on talking. That is Vavaduka is added to it. Vavadukaha, people who are all the time, what do you say? People who are argumentative, those kind of people. Even though Swarupa can never be given up. If it is Ajam Brahma, is Amritam Brahma, it cannot give up its bhava. Ajatasya eva bhavasya na tyagaha ishyati. Okay, so they can't say originally the Atma was everything, is non-dual. It fell off from its glory and now it has become all dual. Like that people say. And they boast about it, that they have understood something. So he says Vavadukaha. Those kind of people, what do they say? Ajatasya eva amritattvasya amritasya swabhavataha jatim utpattimichanti. Ajatasya jatimichanti. Brahmavadinaha vavadukaha ajatasya eva atmatatvasya amritasya atmatattvasya. The atmatattva which is ajataha, that which is not born, cannot be changed. For that, swabhavataha jatim utpattimichanti. So from its nature, amritasya swabhavataha, from that it is born as non-amritam. Because the moment it is born, it is non-amritam only. It will get into mritam. And ajata means it is not born. So ajaha is what Shruti says, that also is given up. These people, though they say, I am a Brahmavadi, I go with Brahman, but they give a meaning which is against Shruti, because Shruti clearly says, Ajam Brahma. Smriti also say, these people say they are Vaishnavas and they follow Bhagavan Sri Krishna and all that, but Bhagavan says, Ajopi san avyayatma ajayamanaha bahuda vijayate. Their own Purusha Suktam says, Ajayamanaha bahuda vijayate. Means, in fact, later on, Bhashyakara is going to take that up and say this kind of a statement is possible only if there is a Mayaya Janma. Ajayamanaha bahuda vijayate means being one which is not having a quality of being born. Ajayamanaha. It doesn't have nature of to be born. That kind of a thing, bahuda vijayate, is born as many. So if the Shruti says like that, that means that is possible only Mayaya, not in reality. Therefore, Amritasya Swabhavataha Jatim Utpattim Ichanti Paramarthataha eva. Really born is what they think. So for them, the Srishti is real. However, Swabhavataha Ajataha. In its nature, it is non-born and Amritam. That kind of Atma Tattvam, they seem to claim to be born. Therefore, Utpatti Michanti Paramarthataha eva Tesham Jatam Chet Tadeva Martyatam Ishyati Avashyam. So if something that is born, it has to die. Jatasya hi dhruva mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Bhagavad Gita. In second chapter, Bhagavan says, anything which is given to birth will die. Hence, if you say that this Ajata Brahma actually is born, then you are wanting death for Brahman. Martyatam ishyati avashyam. So, it is not appropriate. Sacha ajato hi amritaha bhavaha swabhavataha sannatma katam martyatam ishyati. He actually is asking a question. If it is Ajata Brahma, Amrita Brahma, if that is its Swabhava, if that is the Swabhava of Brahman, then Katam Martyatam Ishyati. How do you say it will die? For you also, you are a Vedanti, because you are a Upanishad Vyakyataha. So you accept Vedanta, you accept Upanishad, you accept Shruti, you are a Brahmavadi. So you have to accept that it is Ajata Brahma, it is Amrita Brahma. If the so that means Brahman's Swabhava itself is Ajata, that of not having the quality of being born. Then how do you say it will die? Are you accepting the Shruti Vakya that it is Ajata Brahma or not? If he is a non-Vedanti, okay, then we would have argued differently. But since he is a person who is a Upanishad Vyakyataraha, then he says, Nakatanchana Martyatvam Swabhava Vaiparityam Yeshyati. So it can never attain the Martyatvam, being dead. Or Martyata means given to change. Any change is death. Because when you say change, that means the earlier form has been given up and a new form is taken, which means the earlier form is already dead. So Martyatam means giving yourself to change, yielding to change. So that is Swabhava Vaiparityam, the Viparita. So its own nature, it is going against. You can't touch and say that, oh, fire is cold. That is a Swabhava Vaiparityam. So that is not possible, he says. Na bhavati amritam martyam, na martyam amritam tatha, prakriter anyata bhavaha, na katanchit bhavishyati. Prakritehe anyata bhavaha, na katanchit bhavishyati. The anyata bhava, being different from one's own nature, is not possible. That means it's not its nature. If it is truly its nature, then anyata bhava is not possible. It cannot be something else. So swabhava vaiparityam is not acceptable. Okay, na bhavati amritam martyam. That which is amritam cannot be dead. Na martyam amritam tatha. That which will die cannot be amritam. Prakritehe anyata bhavaha na katanchit bhavishyati. You will never see that the prakriti or swabhava can be given up. Bhashyakara. Yasman bhavati amritam martyam loke napi martyam amritam tata tataha prakritehe swabhavasya anyata bhavah swataha prachitihi na katanchit bhavishyati agnehe iva aushnasya. Like we saw earlier, the Agni will not ever give up the Ushnatvam. Similarly, whatever is the Swabhava, if Brahman is Ajam Amritam, it will remain Ajam Amritam. So then if it is Ajam, if you accept Ajam Amritam, then Ajati also has to be accepted. There is no Srishti. Then Swabhavena Amrito Yasya Bhavo Gacchati Martyatam Kritakena Katam Stasyati Nischalaha Swabhavena Amritaha. Again, by its nature, it is Amritam. When its nature is Amritam, Swabhavena Amritaha. Okay. One second. Yeah. Swabhavena Amritaha na bhavati Amritam Martyam. What is this? Swabhavena Amritaha Yasya Bhavaha Gacchati Martyatam. Yasya, for the one. Okay, for the Yasya means for the one. Swabhavena Amritaha Martyatam Bhavaha Gacchati. The one who believes Swabhavena Amritaha, that something which nature, which is Swarupa, Swabhava is Amrita, if that dies for that person, if anything which is immortal, by its Swarupa, that which is immortal in its nature, if it becomes a mortal, if it lends itself to mortality, Martyatam, okay. So how can it katam stasyati nischalaha? Kritakena amritaha tasya. Amritastasya. Okay. Kritakaha means that undergoing change. Okay. Undergoing change, how does amritaha tasya katam stasyati nischalaha? How will its nature remain unchanged? Okay. So that is the question he is asking. Swabhavena amritaha yasya bhavaha gacchati martyatam kritakena amritaha tasya katam stasyati nischalaha. Yasya, for whom that he is talking about, that that Upanishad Vyakyataraha, because for them martyatam ishyati, then how do you say it retains its swabhava? How is it possible to say? Yasya punar vadinaha swabhavena amritaha bhavaha martyatam gacchati paramartataha jayate tasya pragutpattehe saha bhavaha swabhavataha amritaha iti pratigna mrisha eva. He says pragutpattehe, before the utpatti, before the Jagat is seen, what is it said? Swabhavataha amritaha ajayamanaha bahuda vijayate. It says Sadeva Saumya idamagrasit ekameva advitiyam. So all this in Sad definition also, the Ajatvam Amritatvam is said, and this Ajayamanaha Bahuda Vijayate also, Amritatvam, Ajatvam is both implied. Therefore, Pragutpattehe Tasya Saha Bhavaha Swabhavataha Amritaha iti Pratignya. So this Pratignya is there when you are talking on Vedanta, about Vedanta as a Upanishad Vyakyataraha. What are you saying? Accepting that it is Swabhavena Amritaha. Therefore, Punaha Vadinaha Swabhavena Amritaha Bhavaha Martyatam Gacchati. For that person, Pragutpattehe Saha Bhavaha Swabhavataha Amritaha iti Pratignya Mrisha eva. Then you have to give up your Pratignya that this Brahman by its nature is Amritaha. That kind of a pratignya is mrisha. That is a false promise. Katam tarhi kritakena amritaha tasya swabhavaha kritakena amritaha saha katam stasyati nischalaha. If it is both kritakaha and amritaha, okay, then krita means that which is karya. Kritaka means karya, right? So if there is a karya karanatvam between Brahman and the Jagat, the Karyatvam is not a Mithya Karyam like we say. It is a Satkaryam. Okay. So that means it is a Karyam Jagat. Janma Yogyatvam is there for the Jagat. Okay. Then what happens? This Tasya Katam Stasyati Nischalaha without how do you say there is a Nischala Swabhava for it? Okay. It will keep on changing because once it has changed from what it was to the Jagat, it will continue to change only. Amrita Swabhavataya na katanchit stasyati. It can never remain as Amritam. If the Swarupa is not Amritam, then what are the problems? So they can ask you, so what? So what if Brahman is the one which is Ajati, but I am saying it has become this Jagat? What is the problem? Okay. Atmajativadinaha sarvata ajam nama nasti eva. For the people who says this world is born, for them, unbornness is not to be said about Brahman. Amartyatvam also not to be said. Then what happens? What is the problem? Let it be so. Maybe before the world was born, Brahman was Ajam, Brahman was Amritam. But Veda says it has become this Jagat. Therefore, maybe it has given that up. So why can't you take it as a Upanishad Vakyataraha? I am saying this Ajam Brahma, Amritam Brahma has become this world, dual world, Dvaita Jagat. What is the problem with that? Then Bhashyakara says, Sarvam etat martyam ataha anirmoksha prasangaha iti abhiprayaha. So there is no moksha then. If the whole thing will only continue to change, then what for you are saying Vedanta is a moksha shastra? What Vyakya you are writing about? Are you just going to say that everything is changing? Dvaitam is Satyam. Earlier it was Advayam Brahma. Now it is. Then you have to do some dhyanam. If that's all you can do, then there is no moksha. And Shastra says there is moksha possible, brahmavid brahmaiva bhavati, muchyate, those kind of words are used. So moksha is what for the whole shastra is. If you say that the kritakatvam is there, then it can gain vinasha, it can gain mrityu, okay, it can get into pralaya, all these things. Then there is nothing called moksha. So ajam brahma asmi, jnana iti jnanaha na bhavati eva. Okay, karya matram vastu. If we, all the vastu is only in the form of all this jagat, sun, moon, and my body, everything is real. Then ajam brahmaham asmi, this jnanam itself is not possible. Because I am only one of the things. The Brahman has become all these things. If Brahman has become all these things, then I am one of infinite things which are there. If I am only one of the infinite things, then I can never gain this jnanam that aham brahmasmi. Aham brahmasmi itself is not possible. If aham brahmasmi is not possible, then moksha is not possible. There won't be any moksha. So you have to see the Srishti only in a Vivarta perspective. That is what is Shruti trying to say. If you want moksha, because that is the reality. It's not like if you want moksha, you have to look at it like that. Otherwise, you don't. It's not that. Because Shruti is saying there is moksha, this is the only way you can understand that sentence, is what it implied. Bhutato bhutato vapi सृज्यमाने समाश्रुतिः निश्चितं युक्तियुक्तं च यत्तद्भवति नेतरत्. There is one important question comes. Shruti, see, you can tell, the question can be that you can tell that for moksha you have to accept the ajati, because that is your siddhanta. For you moksha is advayam brahma, this that, so it is probably your siddhanta. But Shruti is ambivalent in this. Everywhere it is not saying Srishti is mithya. It says asrijata, abhavat. All these words are used. Asrishtaha. That means it is clearly saying that the Srishti has taken place in certain places. Bhutaha, bhutataha, abhutataha vapi srijyamane samashrutihi. But there are also Shruti Vakyas which say it is an as though Srishti. Indro Mayavih Pururupa Iyate Ajopi Sannavyatma. This is Bhagavad Gita. Sabhahyabhyantaro hi ajaha. So there are as though Srishti is also spoken about. But there are Vakyas which you have to take it as there is Srishti, because it clearly says ब्रह्मणः आकाश आत्मनः आकाशः सम्भूतः आकाशाद् वायुः वायोरग्निः अग्नेरापः अद्भ्यः पृथिवी. Like that, there are Shrutis which is talking about Bhuta Jagat, and there are Shruti Vakyas which are talking about Abhuta Jagat. Unborn Jagat also is implied in some Srishti Vakyas. Born Jagat also is implied. So he says, Bhutato Abhutato Vapi Srijyamane समाश्रुतिः भूततः सृज्यमाने अपि श्रुतिः अस्ति अभूततः सृज्यमाने अपि श्रुतिः अस्ति तत् समा both of them are there the srishti which is a existing jagat srishti or as though jagat srishti both shruti vakyas are there he accepts Gaudapada Karika Nishchitam yukti yuktam cha yat tad bhavati netarat. So now if there are two such both are being said, okay, if you have a bhutataha srijyamana shruti is there, abhutataha srijyamana jagat shruti is also there, then which one should you choose will be dependent on what is yukti yuktam. Also it has to align to all the other shruti vakyas. If shruti is saying it is ajam brahma, there is moksha, there is amritam brahma, it is niravayavam brahma, it is nirgunam brahma, it is shantam brahma, it is shivam brahma, it says. So if that is how Brahman is said, then how can it be a Srishta Jagat? Srishta Jagat cannot be a Brahman. Therefore, you have to see Yukti Yuktam. It has to align to other Pramana. Okay, so this Parinamavada is though certain Vakyas seem to suggest Parinamavada. The Tatparya there is not Parinama, and that needs to be clearly understood. Okay. So, Tikakara actually says Parinamavade Vivartavade cha Srishtistutehe Shrutehe Aviseshat Advaidanurodhi Shruti Yukti Vashat Vivarta Vadasya Eva Swikartavya Iti Bhavaha. Even though there are Shrutis which are talking about Parinama, there are also Shrutis which are talking about Vivartatvam. So you understand Parinama and Vivarta clearly, right? Parinama means like milk becoming curd. That is a change, real change. Vivarta is like without giving up, it is something else, like rope snake. Rope hasn't changed, still it is a snake. That is like a Vivarta. So without giving up its nature means what? The one is Satyam, another is Mithya. It's only an as though perception. So this Parinama Shruti is there, Vivarta Shruti is there. Okay. But what is a Advaita Anurodhi Shruti? What? Advayam only, Ekameva Dvitiyam. Na iha nanasti kinchana. Like that, there are many Vakyas in many Shrutis. That also has to be kept in purview. So if you have to keep that in purview, you have to only accept the Vivartavada Shruti. That is the Tatparya here. Bhutato abhutato vapi srijyamane samashruti. Nishchitam yukti yuktam cha. What is this yukti? Means what aligns with the rest of the Shruti Vakyas. Okay, now Bhashya. Nanu ajativadinaha srishti pratipadika Shrutihi na sangacchate. So he is asking a question. The ajativadis, people who say there is no srishti, like that is what Shankaracharya and Gaudapada, all these Vedantis. Ajativadinaha, people who say that there is no Srishta Jagat, for them, Srishti Pratipadika Shrutihi na Sangacchate. There are some Shruti Vakyas which are talking about Srishti. That will not be acceptable. It will not be aligned. Why? Because there is a real Srishti, if you say, then Advayatvam, Ajati and all is not possible. because the Atma is Aja. Therefore, how will you look at these Shruti Vakyas which is talking about the Srishti? Is what he asks. Acharya says, Badham. I accept. Accept what? That there are many types of Shruti Vakya. This Nasangachate is not what he is accepting. Okay. Badham, he says, yes, Badham means I agree. Like in the Upanayana Samskara, we say this Badham, Badham. So this father, before the Brahmopadesa, tells his son, okay, may you behave like this. May you only sleep in the floor, on the floor. May you eat with Bhiksha. Like that he will say. Son will have to say Badham. Badham means I accept, I will do that way. Like that here Bhashyakara says Badham, I agree. What? Vidyate Srishti Pratipadika Shrutihi. Yes, there are Shruti Veda Vakyas which accept Srishti. Okay, Vidyate Srishti Pratipadika Shrutihi. That which there are Veda Shruti Vakyas which reveals the Srishti, which does Pratipadanam of Srishti. Satu Anyapara Upayas Saha Avataraya iti avochama. However, the Srishti Vakyas, in our view, is intended for some other purpose. What purpose? Upayaha. It is just a means, a technique to what? Saha avataraya, to reveal, to show. To show there is no duality. All that is here is Brahman. So the Ekatvam only is the intent. Upayaha avataraya. Idanim ukte api parihare punaschodya pariharo vivakshitartam prati srishtistuti aksharanam Anulomya Virodha Shankamatra Parihararthau. You will ask a question. Already this Srishti thing has been discussed and it has been told only few verses before. This whole thing was discussed. Why are you again talking about the same thing? Ajadivada only has been spoken about, no? Therefore, Bhashyakara says here, it is for Idanim Ukte Api Parihare. Even though already for this question a Parihara had been told, Punaschodya Pariharo, again we are talking about it. Gaudapada Acharya is bringing it for what? Vivakshitartham Prati. What is Vivakshitartha? That Ajati Brahma, Anban only is Brahman. Prati Srishti Stuti Aksharanam. Here the context is the Shruti Vakya where there is a conflict, because some Shruti Vakyas are talking as though there is a real Srishti. Some Shruti Vakyas are talking that it is only an as though Srishti. So how do you align these Shruti Vakyas? That is the intent. The Tatparya was already spoken, because this he quotes 315, right? So which is right now we are in 323. So 8 verses back itself it was already said Upayaha Saha Avataraya. Okay. Now why are we again saying this? Srishti Stuti Aksharanam, the Srishti Stuti Shruti Vakyanam, Anulomya Virodha Shankamatra Pariharartha. Anulomya means alignment. Okay. Alignment of this Vakyas. Somebody does Virodha. No. This one only has to be taken. Real Srishti only has to be taken. Tat Shankamatra Pariharartha. To remove that doubt between how to interpret this when there are conflicting kind of vakyas. To just remove it only this verse, not to again bring the same topic which has already been resolved. Okay. Bhutataha paramartataha srijyamane vastuni abhutataha mayaya va mayavina iva srijyamane vastuni samatulya srishtishrutihi. There are two types of srishtisruti like we already saw. Bhutataha paramartataha srijyamane vastuni. There is a real creation. Okay. Bhutataha paramartataha srijyamane. And then abhutataha mayaya va mayavina iva srijyamane vastuni. Okay, this vastu as though there is a creation, like a magician creates a world, like that there is an as though creation. So the both kind of things are samatulya srishti shrutihi. So there are both the kind of shruti vakyas are there. Okay, if there are two kinds of vakyas, then the question is which one should you take? So Purva Pakshi says Nanu Gaunamukyayoho Mukya Shabdartha Pratipattihi Yukta. So one is Mukhyartha. What? Atma, Brahma has definitely changed and become Akasha, and then Vayu, and then Agni. Like that it has actually changed. That is Mukhyam. Mukhyam means what strikes on your face. Okay, in your Mukha. Okay, this strikes means it is evidently the meaning. You cannot give up the Mukhyartha and take up Gaunartha when Mukhyartha itself is possible. What is Gaunartha? Then you are saying that even though it is talking about Srishti, it is only as though Srishti because it is Gaunartha. Okay, you are saying like that. Why should you go to Gaunartha when Mukhyartha is possible? That is a question. Gauna Mukyayoho Mukye Shabdartha Pratipattihi Yukta. Bhashyakara says, Na Anyata Srishtehe Aprasiddhatvat Nishprayojanatvacha. Mukhyartha is not tenable. Why is Mukhyartha not tenable? Because if there is a real Srishti, first of all, okay, it is not established that there is a Prasiddhatvam is not a famous here. It is well established. It is there is no see. How do you know that there is the Jagat has to be Srishtam? How do you know? Only because Veda tells that the world is Srishtam. Okay. So Apurvata, nobody else is knowing that. So Veda only says that it is Srishta Jagat. Okay. But if it says that there should be a Prayojanam, why should it? If you want to assume that everything is really created, then what is the use of that statement? Why should Veda say that? It has no purpose. Then you have to say, it's Arthavada. You will use it for doing some dhyanam before doing a yajna karma. Then you are also giving up Mukhyartha there. You are taking it as an Arthavada. So if you take it as a Mukhyartha, then you have to say that the actual Srishti is there. If actual Srishti is there, then Nishprayojanam, then moksha is not possible. This statement by Veda is of no use, and Nishprayojana Vakya Veda never does. Therefore, the Prayojanam is possible, which is a moksha, only if you take it as Ajati. Avidya Srishti Vishaya Eva Sarva Gauni Mukya Cha Srishti Na Paramartataha. And then he quotes Sabahya Bhyantarohi Ajaha Iti Shrutehe Tasmat Shrutya Nischitamyate Ekamevadvitiyam Ajam Amritamiti Yukti Yuktam Cha Yuktya Cha Sampannam Tadeva Iti Avochama Purvaihi Grantaihi Tadeva Shrutyartaha Bhavati Na Itarat Kadachitapi Kochidapi. Therefore, there is only one way to accept this statement that about Shruti is it is only an as though Srishti. Only when you understand it as an as-though srishti, then moksha is possible. Otherwise, there is of no use. If there is a real srishti, it serves no purpose, and it actually makes Veda as a apramana, and it also creates a lot of conflicts because Brahman cannot be Ajam, Brahman cannot be Nirgunam, Brahman cannot be Amritam. It is all those statements will be also contradicted. So it is very clear that the Srishti as what is described in Veda is only an as though Srishti, only to make you understand all that is here is Brahman. For that you need the Srishti, because you have to account for the duality. Without accounting for the Jagat, how will you say it is a non-dual Brahman? For you to say non-dual Brahman is non-dual, the duality has to be accounted for. So the Srishta Jagat, unless you resolve what is the Srishta Jagat, then Advaita Siddhi is not possible. So therefore, Upanishad has to talk about Srishta Jagat only to show that all that is here is Brahman. Iti he concludes. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.